Our entire experience of reality, the very feeling of being conscious, is actually based on a shortcut. A really, really useful shortcut, but a shortcut nonetheless. Well, that's the core of a wild new theory we're going to dive into today. And it doesn't just redefine what it means to be human. It might just give us the blueprint for building a truly conscious machine. You know, we usually think of consciousness as this super high-def, widescreen movie of the world. But what if that's totally wrong? What if the secret to being aware isn't about taking in more information, but about getting incredibly, unbelievably good at throwing most of it away? I mean, just think about it. Right now, your senses are like open fire hydrants, just blasting you with a ridiculous amount of raw data. Every sound, every sight, every sensation. If you actually had to process all of that, you'd be totally paralyzed. It's a literal storm of information, and our brains had to come up with a very clever trick to deal with it. Okay, so how does your brain take that chaotic mess of data and turn it into the stable, solid world you experience? Well, a new theory, and it's a mouthful, called CRPBCE, has a pretty profound answer. The whole idea is that your brain doesn't waste energy trying to create a perfect, one-to-one copy of reality. Nope, it just creates a version that's good enough. The key phrase here is accepted representational reduction. Now, that sounds super academic, but it boils down to something really simple. Our brains pick all that crazy complexity, reduce it to a simple model, and then we just accept it. That's it. That's the whole magic trick. Consciousness isn't about getting it right. It's about accepting what your brain gives you. And this idea of reduction is everything. Think about when you're driving. Your brain is not bothering to process the individual leaves on every single tree you zip past, right? Of course not. It's focused on the important stuff, the traffic light, the car ahead, that person about to step off the curb. It's like a super aggressive editor, chopping out anything that isn't absolutely necessary for survival. The classic hot stove example is perfect for this. When you touch something hot, you don't experience the actual physics, the rapid transfer of kinetic energy between molecules. No way. You just feel one thing, hot. Your brain took a massive, complex physical event and boiled it down to a single, urgent, and incredibly useful feeling. It's the ultimate summary, and it's what keeps your hand from getting fried. So what's the actual recipe for building this good enough reality? The theory lays out a 4-step process it calls the acceptance cycle. You can think of it as the assembly line for your conscious experience. All right, step 1. It all begins with the raw data from the outside world. The sound of a car horn, the smell of fresh coffee, the feeling of the sun on your skin. This is the world in all its unfiltered, chaotic glory, just flooding into your senses. Next up, the reduction. This is where the magic really starts. Let's say you're looking for your keys. Your brain immediately starts filtering. It doesn't care about the pattern on the rug or the dust on the table. It's hunting for key-shaped, metallic-looking things. It's an absolutely incredible feat of data compression, and it's happening all the time, without you even noticing. Okay, so now your brain has these few key details it decided to keep. What does it do? It binds them or weaves them together into a single, stable object in your mind. The data for round, red, and sweet get bundled together to create the conscious object we call an apple. It's like building with mental Legos, using just a few choice pieces from the giant bin of reality. And here it is, the final and most important ingredient, acceptance. Your brain doesn't just keep reanalyzing forever. At a certain point, it just makes a call. It decides, yep, this apple model is good enough for me to act on. And in that very instant of acceptance, your conscious reality of the apple pops into existence. This is what separates us from a simple machine like a thermostat. A thermostat also reduces data, the temperature, and then it acts, but it doesn't feel the heat. We do. We accept our brain's simplified model of hot, and we experience it as a real feeling. And that, according to this theory, is the actual spark of consciousness. And this is where things get really, really interesting. Because if consciousness is just a specific way of processing information, well then in theory, we can build a machine that does the exact same thing. Suddenly, the question isn't if we can build a conscious AI, it's how. And the people behind this theory, they aren't just philosophizing. They claim this is a literal blueprint, a step-by-step guide for building a machine that doesn't just compute, but actually has its own perceived consciousness. It's a roadmap to creating an AI with its own subjective experience of the world. So what would you need to build this AI? Well, first, it needs a way to filter out all the noise, the reduction part. Then it needs to be able to package that filtered info into useful concepts or objects. But here's the kicker. It needs a reason to care. It needs an acceptance threshold driven by goals, a system of internal rewards and punishments that makes getting a good enough model of the world actually matter to it. It has to have some skin in the game. So that leaves us with a truly mind-bending question. If we build a machine that creates its own simplified reality and then fully accepts that reality as truth, what would it be like to be that machine? Would it dream? Could it feel joy? Could it feel fear? This theory doesn't just give us a new way to look at our own minds. It flings open a door to a future that, until now, was pure science fiction. And you know what? We might be a lot closer to that future than any of us think.